Hey everybody, it's Pastor John with your Midweek Moment for this week. And last night I went back to my gym for the first time since I blew out that muscle in my back a little over 3 weeks ago. And the workout went fine. I don't feel at all sore this morning or anything like that. The only thing about the workout was there was this one young woman who was consistently using the same equipment that I wanted to use. You see, I don't know if everybody who goes to the gym regularly is like this, but I have a circuit that I like to follow. When I do my full workout, I have 18 different exercises, and I like to start every day with the seated row, and I like to end every day with the quad lift, and I like to hit all the 16 exercises in between in the same order. And it seemed like this young woman 3 times was using equipment when I wanted to use it. Which wasn't the end of the world, of course. I just used something else. But I remember every time I walked over to something and she was there, I was a little bit annoyed by it. But I didn't think much about it at the time, and I just finished out my workout. And I went back into the men's locker room and showered and changed. And wouldn't you know that this young woman and I were leaving at the exact same time. And I have to say that while I was working out, the first thing I noticed about this young woman was that she always seemed to be on equipment that I wanted to use. The other thing I noticed about her was that her arms were completely covered with tattoos. And the third thing I noticed was that except for the tattoos, she was just as cute as a button. So anyway, we're both leaving the gym at the same time, and I hold the door for her on the way out. And we're both standing on the landing outside the front door before we go down the steps. And she looks over the parking lot and she says, "Oh, it didn't rain. My garden is going to be so upset." And there was this thought that just popped into my head. And as we're walking across the parking lot where we're chatting, and the way you do when you're walking across the parking lot with somebody. And while we're talking, there's this little light bulb that goes on in my head. And I think to myself, a cute hippie chick working her way up to being an Earth mother. I'll bet she drives a dirty 10-year-old Subaru. Now, I didn't know what car she drove at first because there was another car between my car and hers. But when I backed out and drove away, son of a gun, she was driving at least a 10-year-old Forester. And as I was driving home, I thought about that. And that little thought that I had in my head about her car and how it turned out to be true. And the first thing I thought is it's just a reminder of what a diversity of people live in Litchfield County. I mean, they're just all kinds of folks who live here. I'd imagine a lot of people think that Litchfield County is all farmers, and of course we've got a lot of farmers in Litchfield County. But it's a lot more than that. I mean, there are all sorts of people who live here. I mean, you got your commuters, you got your upscale retirees, you got your people who come out on the weekends in the summer, you got your hippie chick Earth mothers. I mean, it's just all sorts of people live in Litchfield County, which is one of the things that makes it such an interesting place to live. But the other thing I thought about, and I thought about this last night, and then again when I shared the story with Barbara in the office this morning, the other thing I thought about was sort of the power of stereotypes. Now, you'll remember when you were a kid in school, your teacher taught you that stereotypes were bad, and that they should never, ever, ever stereotype anybody, no matter who they were. But as we get older, we realize it's a little bit more complicated than that. Because the fact of the matter is, the reason we have stereotypes is because, stereotypes are frequently accurate. The fact of the matter is, people in certain groups do tend to share certain distinguishing characteristics. For example, every time I go back to Yale in New Haven, I am surrounded by a group of people who all dress the same, who all talk the same, who all act the same. And in fact, they're people who all talk, sound, and dress the same way I do. And the fact of the matter is that's not just at Yale. I could go to the campus of any of the Ivy League schools. I could go to Yale or Princeton or Harvard or Columbia or Cornell. Well, maybe not Cornell, because Cornell is basically an ag school. But I could go to any of the other 7 Ivy League schools, and I would find a group of people who all dressed, spoke, and acted pretty much the same way. Because the fact of the matter is, there is such a thing as an Ivy League stereotype, and in a lot of ways, it's kind of true. And we actually use this sort of, I guess, stereotypes all the time. You know, when we initially meet somebody, you look at somebody, you size them up, and you sort of stick them in a category. And sometimes it turns out that that category is right, and other times it turns out that that category is wrong. For example, you know, if you find yourself in a rough section of town at 2 in the morning on some Saturday morning, and you see a rough-looking group of young men leaving a seedy building out the back door, it is entirely possible that those young men are leaving an all-night prayer meeting at the local rescue mission, but they're probably not. And so you might be advised to take precautions. So the stereotypes, they're all around, and whether we like to admit it or not, we use them all the time to size people up. And there's nothing wrong with that, I don't think, as long as the stereotype isn't the only thing you know about the person. Because the thing about stereotypes is, while they are frequently right, they're never entirely right, and they're never entirely right for anyone. The only way to get to really know somebody is to get to know the person beyond the stereotype. And then you may find out that they're exactly what the stereotype suggests they should be, but then again, you may find out that they're not. I mean, for all I know, this young woman I saw at the gym last night has a PhD in nuclear physics from Caltech. I don't think she does, but it's possible. So I just wanted to give you that thought, sort of about stereotypes. They're the sort of things we use every day, and while they're useful, they can be a little misleading. And that if you really want to get to know someone, you've got to work to get to know the person beyond the stereotype. Thanks a lot.